Chapter 1: The Game. Most people see life as a battle. Something to fight through, to survive. But in truth, life is not a battle, it is a game. And like any game, it has its own set of rules. Yet, this game can only be played successfully if one understands the spiritual laws that govern it. These laws are outlined with remarkable clarity in the Old and New Testaments, offering us a roadmap for navigating life's challenges. Jesus Christ himself spoke of this life as a grand game, a game where giving and receiving are the key principles. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. This timeless truth means that everything we send out, be it in our thoughts, words, or actions, will inevitably return to us. The energy we put into the world is the energy we will receive. If we sow hate, hate will come back to us. If we give love, love will find its way back to us. If we criticize, we will be criticized. If we lie, we will be lied to. And if we cheat, we too will be cheated. But there's another essential part of this game, the imagination. We are taught that the imagination plays a crucial role in shaping our lives. As Proverbs 4 verse 23 states, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." This means that whatever we envision, however deeply we feel it, will eventually manifest in our reality. Consider the story of a man who feared contracting a rare and deadly disease. Despite its rarity, he fixated on the idea, imagining it over and over again in his mind. He read about it, visualized it, and, tragically, it became his reality. He became the victim of his own distorted imagination. This shows us that to play the game of life successfully, we must train our imagination to focus only on positive, empowering images. When a person learns to use their imagination in constructive ways, it becomes a powerful tool to bring forth their deepest desires: health, wealth, love, friendship, and self-expression. The imagination has often been called the scissors of the mind, as it cuts away at the pictures we see in our thoughts, shaping our outer world based on what we create inside. Eventually, these inner pictures manifest externally, and we encounter the world we've imagined. To master this game, we must first understand how our mind works. The ancient Greeks wisely said, "Know thyself." There are three levels of the mind: the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious. The subconscious mind is pure power, like steam or electricity. It has no direction of its own. It simply follows the commands given to it. Whatever we feel deeply or vividly imagine becomes impressed upon this subconscious mind, which then works tirelessly to bring those images to life, down to the smallest detail. For instance, I once knew a woman who, as a child, always imagined herself as a widow. She would dress in black, wear a long veil, and people found her little fantasy amusing, even clever. She grew up, fell deeply in love, and married a man she adored. But soon after, he passed away. She wore black and a sweeping veil for many years after, embodying the image she had created for herself as a widow. The picture she had formed in her subconscious mind had eventually materialized, despite the devastating consequences. This illustrates how powerful the subconscious mind can be. The conscious mind, often referred to as the mortal or carnal mind, is the human mind that sees life based on what is right in front of it. It perceives sickness, death, disaster, and poverty, and it imprints these images upon the subconscious. It is shaped by the reality it experiences, whether good or bad. In contrast, the superconscious mind is the divine aspect within each of us, the God mind. It is the realm of perfect ideas, the source of our highest potential. Plato spoke of this as the divine design, the blueprint for each individual. There is a unique place for you to fill, a purpose that only you can fulfill, something no one else can do. This perfect design is embedded in the superconscious mind, often appearing as a brilliant but fleeting ideal. While it may seem unattainable, this vision is, in fact, your true destiny, the destination revealed by the infinite intelligence within you. Unfortunately, many people are unaware of their true destinies. They often chase after things or situations that aren't meant for them, and if attained, they would only lead to failure and dissatisfaction. I recall a woman who came to me, asking that I speak a prayer for her to marry a man she loved deeply, a man named B. I told her that to do so would be a violation of spiritual law. Instead, I offered to speak a prayer for the right man, the one who was her divine match. I assured her that if B was indeed the man destined for her, he would be brought to her through divine alignment, but if not, there was someone even more perfectly suited to her. You can't lose him, and if he's not the one, you'll receive his equivalent. That's what I told the woman when she asked for help in manifesting a relationship with B. She saw him frequently, but no real progress was made in their connection. After some time, she called me and said, "For the last week, B hasn't seemed so wonderful to me." I suggested, perhaps he's not the divine match. Another man may be the one. Not long after, she met a new man who instantly fell in love with her. He told her she was his ideal, saying all the things she had longed to hear from B. It felt uncanny, she said. She quickly returned his affection and lost all interest in B. This is an example of the law of substitution. A right idea replaced a wrong one, and because of this, there was no loss, no sacrifice, only a divine replacement. Jesus Christ taught, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." He made it clear that the kingdom of God is within us, the realm of right ideas, where our divine pattern exists. These right ideas are the keys to unlocking everything we desire. Jesus also emphasized the power of words in the game of life. By your words, ye are justified, and by your words, ye are condemned. Our words have a profound impact on our lives, and many people unknowingly bring misfortune upon themselves through idle, careless speech. I recall one woman who came to me, asking why her life had descended into poverty after once having everything, a beautiful home, wealth, and comfort. Through careful reflection, we discovered that she had often grown tired of managing her home and repeatedly said, "I'm sick and tired of things, I wish I lived in a trunk." She had unconsciously spoken herself into that very situation. The subconscious mind doesn't have a sense of humor, it takes everything literally. Similarly, I once met a woman who had a large fortune. She jokingly talked about preparing for the poorhouse, saying it was just around the corner. Within a few years, she found herself nearly destitute. She had impressed the image of lack and limitation upon her subconscious, which went to work in the physical world, bringing about the very thing she had jokingly predicted. Our words, whether spoken in jest or earnest, are powerful enough to shape our realities. Fortunately, the law works in both directions. A situation of lack can be transformed into one of abundance. I remember one hot summer day when a woman came to me for a treatment focused on prosperity. She was worn out, disheartened, and feeling defeated. She told me she had only $8 to her name. I smiled and said, "Good, we'll bless that $8 and multiply it, just as Jesus Christ multiplied the loaves and fishes." He taught that every person has the power to bless, to multiply, to heal, and to prosper. She asked, "What should I do next?" I told her to follow her intuition. Intuition is that inner guidance, the voice from within that never leads us astray. It's man's most reliable compass, and I will explain its laws in a future chapter. Do you have a hunch about anything? Any feeling about where to go? I asked. She replied, "I don't know, but I feel like I should go home. I have just enough money for the car fare." Her home was in a distant city, one marked by lack and limitation. Logically, her intellect might have advised, stay in New York, find work, and earn more money. But I told her, go home. Never ignore your hunches. I spoke a prayer over her, Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance. She is an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to her by divine right. I also advised her to repeat this affirmation continually. She left for home immediately. Later, she met with an old family friend, and through this connection, she received thousands of dollars in a miraculous way. She often says to me, "Tell people about the woman who came to you with $8 and a hunch." There is always abundance along life's path, but it can only be manifested through desire, faith, or the spoken word. Jesus Christ made it clear that we must make the first move. Ask, and it shall be given you, seek, and ye shall find, knock, and it shall be opened unto you, as Matthew 7 verse 7 tells us. The scriptures also say, concerning the works of my hands, command ye me. Infinite intelligence, or God, is always ready to fulfill both our smallest and greatest requests. Every desire, whether spoken or unspoken, is a command. We are often amazed when a wish is suddenly fulfilled in unexpected ways. I remember one Easter, I had admired the beautiful rose trees displayed in florist windows, and I made a quiet wish that I would receive one. For a brief moment, I even pictured it being carried through my door. Easter arrived, and with it, a gorgeous rose tree. I thanked my friend the next day, telling her it was exactly what I had wanted. She was puzzled and replied, "I didn't send you a rose tree, I sent you lilies." Apparently, the order had been mixed up, but the rose tree had arrived nonetheless. This happened because I had set the law of attraction into motion, I had visualized and desired it, and so it had to manifest. Nothing stands between a person and their highest ideals, except doubt and fear. When we can wish with certainty, without the shadow of worry, every desire will be fulfilled almost instantly. I'll delve into the scientific reasons behind this in a later chapter, explaining how fear must be eliminated from our consciousness. Fear is the only true enemy we face: fear of lack, fear of failure, fear of illness, fear of loss, or any sense of insecurity. Jesus Christ asked, "Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith?" Matthew 8 verse 26. This tells us that we must replace fear with faith. Fear is simply inverted faith. It is faith in evil, instead of faith in good. The ultimate objective of the game of life is to clearly see and embrace one's good, while eliminating all mental images of evil or failure. This can only be accomplished by impressing the subconscious mind with positive, uplifting thoughts. A successful man once shared with me that he eradicated fear from his mind by reading a sign that hung in a room. It read, "Why worry, it will probably never happen." These words made a profound impression on his subconscious, and he now holds a deep conviction that only good can manifest in his life. The result? Only good continues to appear in his reality. In an upcoming chapter, I will discuss the various methods of impressing the subconscious mind. It is a faithful servant, but we must be careful in giving it the right commands. Every thought, every word, is absorbed by it and executed in remarkable detail. It's like a singer leaving an imprint on the sensitive grooves of a phonograph record. Every vibration, every note, is etched into the mind's record, ready to be played out in the world. Every note and tone of the singer's voice is captured, even the smallest hesitation or cough. The subconscious mind is just like this. Every thought, every word, is recorded, even the ones we don't intend. It's time to break all those old, negative records that have been etched into our minds, the ones that no longer serve us, and replace them with new, beautiful ones. Speak these words aloud, with conviction and authority. I now smash and demolish, by the power of my spoken word, every untrue record in my subconscious mind. They shall return to the dust heap of their native nothingness, for they came from my own fleeting thoughts. I now create my perfect records through the Christ within, records of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. This is the square of life, the completion of the game. In the chapters ahead, I will explain how anyone can transform their circumstances simply by changing the words they speak. A person who doesn't understand the power of words is out of touch with one of the most profound forces in the universe. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, Proverbs 18 verse 21. Our words shape our world, and when we master them, we gain the ability to shape our destiny. Chapter 2: The Law of Prosperity. One of the greatest messages delivered to humanity through Scripture is the understanding that God is man's supply, and that through our spoken word, we can unlock everything that rightfully belongs to us by divine right. To tap into this power, however, one must have perfect faith in their words. As Isaiah said, "My word shall not return unto me void, but shall accomplish that whereunto it is sent." Today, we know that words and thoughts are a powerful vibratory force, continually shaping our lives, our bodies, and our circumstances. A woman once came to me in deep distress. She was facing a lawsuit for $3,000, due on the 15th of the month, and she had no idea how she would come up with the money. She was desperate. I assured her that God was her supply and that there is always a way to meet every demand. I spoke the word, thanking the universe that she would receive the $3,000 at the right time and in the right way. I told her that she must have complete faith and act in accordance with that faith. The 15th arrived, but the money had not materialized. She called me, asking what she should do. I replied, "It's Saturday, so they won't sue you today. Your part is to act as if you already have the money. Show your perfect faith by behaving as if it's already here." She invited me to lunch, asking me to help keep her spirits up. When I joined her, I said, "This is not the time to economize. Order an expensive lunch. Act as if you have already received the $3,000. As Jesus taught, all things whatsoever ye ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive." You must act as if it has already been granted. The next morning, she called again, asking me to stay with her for the day. I told her, "No, you are divinely protected. God is never too late." That evening, she phoned me again, filled with excitement. "A miracle has happened," she exclaimed. "I was sitting in my room this morning when the doorbell rang. I told the maid not to let anyone in, but she looked out the window and said, 'It's your cousin with the long white beard.' I told her to call him back. He had been just about to leave, but he heard the maid and came back. We talked for an hour, and just as he was leaving, he said, 'By the way, how are your finances?' This was the beginning of a miraculous chain of events that unfolded because she had spoken the word and acted with faith. She had created space for divine supply to enter her life. I told him I needed the money urgently, and he replied, 'Why, my dear, I'll give you $3,000 on the first of the month.' I didn't want to tell him about the lawsuit, but I knew I needed the money before then. What should I do? I can't wait until the first of the month, I need it tomorrow. So I said, I'll keep treating. Spirit is never too late. I continued affirming, I give thanks that the money has already been received on the invisible plane, and that it will manifest on time. The very next morning, her cousin called her. Come to my office this morning, and I will give you the money. By that afternoon, she had $3,000 deposited in her bank account and was writing checks as fast as her excitement allowed. If one asks for success but prepares for failure, that's exactly what they'll receive. For example, a man came to me asking for a debt to be erased. But upon speaking with him, I discovered he spent all his time planning what he would say to the creditor when the payment wasn't made, essentially neutralizing my words. Instead, he should have focused on seeing himself paying the debt off in full. We find a remarkable example of this in the Bible, where 3 kings were stranded in the desert without water for their men and horses. They consulted the prophet Elisha, who delivered this astonishing message, Thus saith the Lord, Ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet make this valley full of ditches. This shows that even when there's no visible sign of a solution, one must still prepare for it. A woman, for instance, found herself searching for an apartment during a time of severe shortage in New York, when it seemed almost impossible to find a place. Her friends pitied her and said, "Isn't it too bad that you'll have to store your furniture and live in a hotel?" She replied confidently, "You needn't feel sorry for me. I know my apartment is already on its way. I'm a Superman, and I'll get that apartment," she declared confidently. Speaking with conviction, she added, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for the right apartment." She knew there was always a supply for every demand, and that when she worked from the spiritual plane, she was unstoppable. One with God is always a majority. Despite the doubt that crept in, when the reasoning mind suggested, "Don't buy the blankets, maybe you won't get the apartment and then you'll have no use for them," she countered that thought. "I'll dig my ditches by buying the blankets," she decided. She prepared herself, acting as though the apartment was already hers, fully expecting it to manifest. Miraculously, she found a perfect place, even though over 200 other applicants had competed for it. The blankets represented her active faith, the physical demonstration of her belief that what she had asked for would come to fruition. As we see in the Bible, the 3 kings in the desert had to dig ditches before the rain came, and when they did, the ditches filled to overflowing. The lesson is clear: you must prepare for what you've asked for, even when there's no evidence of it in sight. The ditches represent active faith in the unseen, and the manifestation is always guaranteed once you take the right action. For the average person, getting into the spiritual rhythm of things isn't easy. The subconscious mind is constantly filled with doubts, fears, and adverse thoughts, the army of aliens that must be conquered. This is why it often feels like it's darkest before the dawn. Right before a big breakthrough, tormenting thoughts arise as the old beliefs are challenged and ready to be replaced with the truth. This is the moment to persist with affirmations of truth and to celebrate with gratitude, believing you've already received your good. As the Bible says, "Before ye call, I shall answer." Every perfect gift is already waiting for you, just awaiting your recognition. The children of Israel were told they could possess all the land they could see, and this applies to every person. We are limited only by the land we can envision in our minds. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, has been brought into being by holding on to that vision, even when failure or discouragement appears just before the success. It is in the darkest moments that the greatest demonstrations are born, if only we persist in our faith and vision. The children of Israel were afraid to enter the promised land because they saw giants in the land and felt small, like grasshoppers in comparison. They said, "There we saw the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers." This fear of the unknown, the perception of being too small or inadequate to face challenges, is a common experience for many. However, the one who understands spiritual law is not disturbed by appearances or fearful of obstacles. Instead, they hold to their vision of success, health, love, or abundance, and they give thanks as though they have already received their desires. Jesus Christ gave an example of this faith when he said to his disciples, "Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh the harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are already ripe unto harvest." Jesus' vision went beyond the material world. He could see things as they truly were in the divine mind, perfect, complete, and already accomplished in the spiritual realm. For him, everything was already finished in its ideal form. This is a key lesson for everyone. One must always hold the vision of the end result and demand the manifestation of that which they have already received in the Spirit. Whether it is perfect health, success, self-expression, relationships, or abundance, these are all divine ideas registered in the superconscious mind, waiting to come through us, not to us. For example, a man came to me asking for help in raising $50,000 for his business within a set time frame. The deadline was fast approaching, and he was in despair because no one wanted to invest, and the bank had refused his loan. I suggested that perhaps he had lost his composure during his visit to the bank, as such emotional reactions could block his power to manifest his desires. I told him, "You can control any situation if you first control yourself." I advised him to go back to the bank with a calm and centered mind, and in the meantime, I would treat the situation with a prayer of faith. My treatment was simple but powerful. You are identified in love with the spirit of everyone connected with the bank. Let the divine idea come out of this situation. The prayer focused on aligning him with the higher spiritual truth of divine supply, ensuring that the right outcome would unfold through love, harmony, and spiritual connection. This illustrates how one can hold fast to their vision of success, despite the challenges and appearances, knowing that all good things are already finished in the mind of the divine and must come to pass through our belief and faith. In this story, a man was faced with an urgent financial situation and had lost hope, convinced that it was too late for him to secure the loan he needed. He had a train to catch, but the bank closed at noon and his train wouldn't get him there in time. He feared that the deadline was too close, and it seemed impossible for him to succeed. However, the spiritual law I shared with him was clear: God doesn't need time, and with God, all things are possible. I reminded him that the divine is not limited by human constraints and that miracles can happen when we align ourselves with faith. When he went to the bank, even though everything appeared against him, the result was miraculous. He arrived just 15 minutes before the bank closed, and despite the time constraints, the bank gave him the loan without hesitation. This demonstrated that when we trust in divine timing and have faith, things often work out far beyond our logical expectations. This situation shows that sometimes, individuals need support from others to stay firm in their belief, especially when doubt creeps in. It's easier to have faith for someone else, especially when they are too close to their own problem and struggling to see a way out. This is why Jesus Christ taught the power of agreement. If two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. When one person believes strongly and holds the vision of success for another, it can lift them up and keep them focused on the goal, allowing them to manifest what seems impossible. In this case, the man needed someone to hold the vision of success for him. He couldn't see the way forward because of his close connection to the situation, but his healer or friend saw his success clearly and remained unwavering. A keen observer of life once said, "No man can fail if someone sees him successful." This is the power of belief and vision. Many people owe their achievements to someone who believed in them when they couldn't believe in themselves. Therefore, it's important not to hesitate to ask for help when you feel yourself wavering. Sometimes, the faith and support of others can make all the difference in manifesting what you desire. Chapter 3: The Power of the Word. We are reminded of the incredible influence that our spoken words have on our lives. The Bible verse, "By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned," emphasizes that our words have the power to shape our experiences. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are constantly creating laws and beliefs for ourselves through our speech. For example, a man might say, "I always miss a car. It invariably pulls out just as I arrive," while his daughter might say, "I always catch a car. It's sure to come just as I get there." In both cases, the words they speak create a subconscious expectation, which manifests in their lives. One has created a law of failure, while the other has created a law of success. This highlights the importance of being mindful of what we say. The belief in something, even something as simple as a lucky charm, can attract the expected outcome. However, as one advances spiritually, they begin to understand that true power lies not in objects or superstitions, but in the faith and words they speak. An example is given of two men who, after months of success in business, suddenly faced failure. Upon reflection, it was discovered that they had placed their faith in lucky monkeys rather than in God's power. When they let go of their dependence on the monkeys and returned to trusting in God's law, their fortunes were restored. This story is not meant to dismiss the use of lucky charms or symbols entirely, but it underscores the need to recognize that the true power lies not in the object itself, but in the divine force behind it. Objects can provide a feeling of expectancy, but they should never replace faith in the higher law of God, which is the source of all true power. Thus, it is essential to understand the power of our words and thoughts, as they have the ability to shape our realities. By aligning our words with divine truth and releasing any reliance on external symbols, we open ourselves up to greater success, peace, and prosperity. In this section, the author continues to emphasize the importance of understanding the power behind beliefs and symbols, and how they influence our lives. The story of the woman finding a horseshoe and feeling uplifted illustrates how external symbols can sometimes be used to rekindle hope and faith. For this woman, the horseshoe was a sign of encouragement from God. It was not the horseshoe itself that had any inherent power, but the faith and joy it inspired in her. However, the distinction is made between those who rely solely on objects or symbols, like the men with their lucky monkeys, and those who recognize the divine power behind those symbols. The key is in the understanding that the symbol itself holds no power. Rather, it is our perception and the faith we place in it that makes it meaningful. The author also reflects on their own journey of breaking free from superstitions, such as the belief that certain things inevitably lead to disappointment. Through affirmations, such as declaring that there is only one power, God, and that every experience is a happy surprise, the author was able to shift their subconscious belief. This shift led to more positive outcomes. The anecdote about the friend who was afraid to walk under a ladder further reinforces this point. The fear of walking under a ladder represents belief in two opposing powers, good and evil. The author encourages their friend to overcome this fear by realizing that there is only one power, God, and by letting go of the superstitions that create a belief in negative forces. Ultimately, this section teaches that when we align ourselves with the understanding of a single, divine power, we eliminate the duality of good and evil, and with it, the fears and superstitions that keep us from experiencing the fullness of life. Our words and thoughts are powerful because they shape the beliefs we hold, and these beliefs in turn shape our experiences. By affirming that God is the only power, we can change our circumstances and attract positive outcomes. In this passage, the author emphasizes the concept of the law of non-resistance, which is rooted in facing fear and negativity with courage and trust in divine power. The story about the woman being afraid to walk under a ladder illustrates how fear can control us, and how, by confronting that fear, we can free ourselves from its hold. Her experience shows that once she overcame the fear, the ladder, an obstacle in her mind, disappeared, symbolizing how our fears often create the very problems we fear. The author then connects this to the power of words, stating that whatever man speaks or expresses, he begins to attract. Words are not just simple expressions, they are vibratory forces that can shape our reality. This is why the author insists on being careful with what we say. For instance, the friend's frequent use of negative phrases about sickness and loss draws those very circumstances into her life. This idea reflects the principle that thoughts and words are powerful forces that attract their corresponding reality, whether positive or negative. The shift in perspective suggested is that rather than focusing on what we don't want, disease, lack, failure, we should speak and think about what we want, prosperity, success, and health. The author underscores this by noting the old saying, "What man says of others, will be said of him," suggesting that our words about others reflect back upon us, and that blessings and curses alike are self-created through language. The idea is that words have a boomerang effect. Whatever is spoken will eventually return to the speaker. Thus, the power of the word is about being conscious of what we voice, whether internally or externally. Words of fear and limitation attract more of the same, while words of faith, prosperity, and health create an atmosphere in which those qualities can flourish. The passage encourages us to use our words deliberately to heal, bless, and prosper, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. In this passage, the author emphasizes the transformative power of love and positive thinking in the healing process, both mentally and physically. The idea is that by wishing bad things upon others, we ultimately invite those same negative experiences into our own lives. Conversely, wishing success and well-being for others helps to manifest those same qualities for ourselves. The author also highlights the metaphysical perspective that disease and unhappiness are rooted in the mind, particularly the subconscious. All disease is believed to have a mental correspondence, meaning that negative thought patterns or wrong thinking can manifest as physical ailments in the body. To heal the body, one must first heal the soul, or subconscious mind, by restoring it with positive, right-thinking ideas. This aligns with the concept of the mystical marriage, the union of the conscious, or superconscious, mind and the subconscious mind, which allows a person to align fully with divine intelligence and truth. The alignment of these two aspects of mind brings about health, harmony, and wholeness. The passage also quotes the 23rd Psalm, specifically, "He restoreth my soul," suggesting that restoration of the soul, or subconscious mind, is essential for personal well-being. When the subconscious is filled with positive, divine thoughts, the person becomes one with God's perfect ideas, aligning with a higher order of health, success, and life. Furthermore, the author underscores the idea that love is the key to overcoming all obstacles. In the example of the woman with the skin disease, her feelings of hatred and resentment after being dismissed from the stage caused her illness to worsen. However, when she consciously chose to release those negative feelings, the healing process began. The woman's effort to practice forgiveness and focus on love helped her to overcome the emotional blockages that had contributed to her condition. She actively worked in silence, likely meaning that she engaged in affirmations, meditation, or prayer to replace negative thoughts with higher, more loving energies. Ultimately, the passage reinforces the idea that healing is not just about the body but about aligning the mind and spirit with love, goodwill, and positivity. When a person focuses on love and healing for others and themselves, they align with the divine and attract the positive outcomes they seek. In this way, love and forgiveness are essential tools for restoring health and happiness. This passage continues to elaborate on the theme that physical illness and external challenges are often the result of inner mental states, particularly unresolved emotions like resentment, criticism, jealousy, and fear. The author stresses that the root cause of disease lies not in the body itself, but in the mind and emotions, specifically the subconscious. When the mind is not at ease, it can manifest as physical ailments, as the body and mind are deeply interconnected. The woman in the story, who had healed from a skin disease, achieved this transformation by cultivating love and goodwill, which helped to dissolve the subconscious resentment that had contributed to her illness. The author emphasizes that negative emotions, such as unforgiveness and criticism, can have tangible effects on the body. Conditions like rheumatism are linked to critical and inharmonious thoughts, while other diseases, like growths or blocked arteries, may stem from feelings like jealousy, hatred, or fear. The passage also highlights the concept that every disease is caused by a mind not at ease. This reinforces the idea that emotional and mental disturbances, such as holding grudges or fostering negative emotions, can create physical problems in the body. In one instance, the author illustrates this point with a woman who believed she became ill from a poisoned oyster. However, the author suggests that the real cause of her illness was her mental state, particularly the quarrels she had with others, which created disharmony in her mind and body. The oyster was just a symptom, and the underlying issue was the unresolved emotional conflict. The lesson here is that healing comes from addressing the inner turmoil, such as unforgiveness or resentment, rather than focusing solely on the physical symptoms. When a person can find peace and harmony within themselves, it can lead to healing on all levels: mind, body, and spirit. The author reinforces that the act of forgiveness and cultivating goodwill are powerful tools in maintaining both mental and physical health. This passage focuses on the transformative power of love, goodwill, and peace in overcoming internal and external conflicts. It emphasizes that a person's true enemies are not external forces but the negative emotions, fears, and limitations within themselves. The teachings of Christ, peace on earth, goodwill towards men, serve as a guiding principle, encouraging individuals to work on cultivating inner peace and sending out blessings to others, even to those who may seem to pose a threat or adversary. The example of the businessman selling machinery illustrates how fear and criticism can create obstacles, while love and goodwill can dissolve those barriers. By choosing to bless his competitor and release fear, the businessman aligned himself with divine protection and allowed the right outcome to manifest. His non-resistance and positive energy created an aura of protection, ensuring success in the face of potential rivalry. This outcome suggests that when one acts with love and goodwill, Even situations that appear adversarial can be transformed into opportunities for success and peace. The passage encourages letting go of negative thoughts toward others, even those who may seem to oppose or harm us. By sending out love and blessings, one neutralizes the power of these negative forces, as love and goodwill destroy the enemies within. This not only leads to a harmonious external world but also fosters inner peace. The idea is that when one acts in alignment with higher principles, such as love, peace, and goodwill, there is an aura of protection, and any negativity or conflict in the external world loses its power to harm. The core message here is that the key to overcoming challenges, both internal and external, lies in cultivating and radiating love, goodwill, and peace. By doing so, a person frees themselves from fear, judgment, and hostility, and creates a positive and protected environment where divine solutions can manifest. Chapter 4: The Law of Non-Resistance. The principle of non-resistance is emphasized as a powerful force for overcoming negative circumstances. The passage begins by quoting Jesus Christ's teachings, "Resist not evil," explaining that resistance itself is a reaction to the belief in two opposing powers, good and evil. The reality, according to the author, is that there is only one true power, which is God, and any appearance of evil is an illusion or a false law that man has created through his own limited thinking. The analogy of water being the most powerful element because of its non-resistance is used to illustrate the strength of surrender. Water, despite its soft and yielding nature, has the power to erode rock and flow around obstacles. Similarly, non-resistance, or the refusal to react negatively to evil or opposition, is described as a force capable of overcoming all adversity. The key idea is that when one does not resist evil, it loses its power and can be neutralized by the goodness and peace that are within. The chapter also explores how beliefs and thoughts, especially those held in the subconscious, shape an individual's reality. It is pointed out that a person's body and affairs are projections of what is deeply felt or believed, whether consciously or unconsciously. For example, a sick person has mentally pictured sickness, while someone who experiences wealth has mentally pictured wealth. This idea extends to children, who may attract illness not from their own thoughts but from the fears and beliefs of the adults around them. The story of a mother anticipating illness for her child by expecting the measles illustrates how fear-based thinking can manifest negative outcomes. It emphasizes that the subconscious mind, unless consciously directed, will be influenced by the fears and beliefs of others. This concept is further illustrated by the advice that one must be the master of their subconscious thoughts, or else those thoughts will be shaped by external influences. Finally, the chapter suggests that a person who is grounded in right thinking, love, and goodwill, and who is free from fear, cannot be affected by the negative thoughts or actions of others. This person becomes a beacon of positivity and non-resistance, unaffected by the negative forces or opinions around them. By focusing on sending out goodwill and maintaining a positive, peaceful mindset, an individual can remain untouched by the negativity of others and stay aligned with divine law. The core message of this chapter is that true power comes from non-resistance, choosing not to engage with or give energy to negativity, and instead focusing on the higher truth that only goodness and divine power are real. Non-resistance, when practiced with love and faith, can transform any adverse situation. The passage continues the theme of non-resistance and introduces the concept of transmutation, where one transforms negative experiences or perceptions into positive ones. The key idea is that by resisting nothing, and instead choosing to bless and affirm good in every situation, an individual can change their circumstances for the better. The story about the metaphysician who baptizes events shows how powerful words and thoughts can be in shaping reality. The metaphysician's approach to baptizing failure as success demonstrates the power of reframing events with a positive mindset, using affirmations like, "In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost." By naming every experience as success, he effectively redefines his life circumstances and turns challenges into opportunities. The story of the woman in business who was initially feeling poor and limited because of the negative influence of a man illustrates how non-resistance and the law of transmutation work. She recognized that she was resisting the situation, and through blessing the man and affirming that he was there for her good and prosperity, she was able to shift her perception. By doing so, she attracted the prosperity she desired. Through that man, she met someone who gave her several $1,000s. The man, who had been an obstacle, then moved away from her life, and the situation resolved harmoniously. This demonstrates the idea that when we see others and situations as part of the divine plan, and choose to bless them rather than resist, we align ourselves with the flow of abundance and peace. The statement, "Every man is a golden link in the chain of my good," emphasizes that all people are part of the divine manifestation and have the potential to bring good into our lives, even if we don't see it at first. The message is that all things are working together for our good if we allow them to, and resistance only hinders the flow of blessings. In essence, this chapter emphasizes the power of non-resistance, affirmations, and the transformative power of positive thinking and words. By seeing every challenge as an opportunity for growth and transmuting negative experiences into positive ones, we can create an abundant, harmonious life. The passage elaborates further on the principle of non-resistance, emphasizing that by blessing and sending love to those who might otherwise be seen as enemies, one disarms them. This is not only an individual practice but also a collective one. Blessing a nation, sending goodwill to every inhabitant, can neutralize the power of that nation to harm. The core teaching here is that when we send out love and goodwill, we rob any negative force of its power and transform it into something positive. The passage also addresses a common misconception about non-resistance. The idea of being a doormat is a fear that many have when first learning about this concept. However, the author clarifies that using non-resistance wisely does not mean allowing others to walk over you. Instead, it involves using spiritual wisdom to navigate situations with grace, without being manipulated or overpowered. A personal example of the author's experience with non-resistance illustrates how this law works in everyday life. While waiting for an important telephone call, the author resisted incoming calls, believing they might interfere with the one they were awaiting. This anxiety, fear, and belief in interference inadvertently caused the phone to disconnect. Realizing the error, the author practiced non-resistance by blessing the situation, affirming that divine ideas never conflict, and that everything would unfold at the right time. Through this shift in mindset, the phone was reconnected, and the desired call came through just as needed. This demonstrates the power of non-resistance. By trusting in divine timing and releasing control, the outcome was aligned with the highest good. The idea that one's ships come in over a calm sea encapsulates the essence of this teaching. When we remain calm, non-resistant, and trust in the divine order of things, we create space for good to flow effortlessly into our lives. In essence, this section reinforces the power of blessing and sending love, as well as the importance of non-resistance. By aligning with divine wisdom and trusting the universe, we allow things to unfold naturally and harmoniously, without unnecessary interference or struggle. The passage explores the idea that resistance to any situation only serves to prolong or reinforce it. The woman who left her critical and domineering mother only to find herself in a marriage with someone exactly like her mother illustrates the idea that unresolved emotional patterns within a person will manifest in their external relationships or circumstances. This highlights the importance of addressing internal conflicts rather than simply trying to change the external environment. The concept of "agree with thine adversary quickly" is also explored, suggesting that the way to deal with adversity is not by fighting it or resisting it, but by accepting and allowing it to pass through without emotional disturbance. This non-reactive state allows situations to dissolve naturally. The affirmation, "None of these things move me," captures this attitude, emphasizing that harmony within oneself is key to resolving external conflicts. The author also reflects on the idea that individuals attract to themselves the qualities they hold within. The story of the student who lied and was subsequently lied to is a powerful example of how our behavior and attitudes toward others create the circumstances we experience. When the student encountered someone who lied more than she did, she was forced to confront her own actions, which led to her change. This reflects the spiritual principle that life is a mirror, showing us reflections of our own beliefs, thoughts, and behaviors. The passage also emphasizes the importance of living in the present moment, rather than being trapped in the past or overly concerned with the future. By constantly looking backward or forward, one misses the opportunity to fully engage with the present and the spiritual richness it offers. The reference to Lot's wife turning into a pillar of salt serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of dwelling in the past. Living fully in the present, blessing the past, and embracing the future with optimism and faith allows a person to remain free and open to the possibilities of life. The example of the woman who came seeking help with money for Christmas gifts highlights this principle. By shifting her focus from lack to trust in abundance and divine timing, she could experience a greater sense of freedom and opportunity, rather than being constrained by financial worries. In summary, this section underscores the importance of non-resistance, self-awareness, living in the present, and the understanding that our inner thoughts and emotions directly shape the world we experience. Through this, individuals can find peace and create positive changes in their lives. This passage highlights the power of living in the present moment, acting with faith, and setting the intention to create positive change. The woman who was lamenting her lack of money for Christmas gifts was advised to stop focusing on past disappointments and instead take action based on faith and expectancy. By buying tinsel, wrapping paper, and Christmas seals, she was symbolically preparing for the arrival of abundance, which ultimately manifested as she received several $100s. This act of faith and expectancy was key to opening the way for the money she needed. The message is clear: in order to manifest something in life, one must live in a state of expectancy and act as though it is already coming to them. The subconscious mind responds to the thoughts and actions that align with a belief in abundance, which is why taking action, even small steps like purchasing wrapping paper, can set things in motion. Fear of lack only perpetuates scarcity, whereas acting fearlessly and with faith allows space for the desired outcome to materialize. The passage also emphasizes the importance of starting the day with positive affirmations and setting the tone for the day ahead. By affirming, "Thy will be done this day," or "Today is a day of completion," one can align themselves with a mindset of receptivity and openness to miracles. The quote, "Look with wonder at that which is before you," serves as a reminder to approach each day with a sense of awe and possibility. By living fully in the present moment, staying spiritually alert, and making affirmations a habit, one can unlock the flow of miracles and blessings in their life. It is through this mindset of readiness and belief that opportunities and miracles begin to appear. This passage emphasizes the power of affirmations in manifesting one's desires and shaping reality. Affirmations are presented as a way to align the subconscious mind with positive outcomes, but they must be deeply satisfying and convincing to the individual using them. The idea is that when an affirmation is tailored to one's specific desires and beliefs, it has the power to shift consciousness and produce tangible results. The example of the affirmation, "I have a wonderful work, in a wonderful way, I give wonderful service, for wonderful pay," demonstrates how a simple, positive statement can influence one's circumstances. The addition of "wonderful service for wonderful pay" highlights the idea that one's service should always be met with appropriate compensation. The rhyme and rhythm make it easier for the affirmation to penetrate the subconscious mind, reinforcing positive beliefs and attracting desired results. The story about the businessman who changed the affirmation to fit his own situation, "I have a wonderful business, in a wonderful way, and I give wonderful service for wonderful pay," illustrates how customizing affirmations can lead to remarkable outcomes. In his case, this affirmation led to a significant deal after months of inactivity. The passage also underscores the importance of being careful when crafting affirmations. One must ensure that they are specific and complete, covering all aspects of the desire. The woman who asked for work but didn't specify she also wanted pay experienced a situation where she received work but no payment. This serves as a reminder to make sure affirmations are fully aligned with one's goals. Lastly, the passage touches on the divine right to abundance. It encourages readers to believe that there is more than enough to go around and that by breaking down mental barriers of lack, one can experience the fullness and richness that life has to offer. By aligning thoughts and affirmations with abundance, individuals can create a life of prosperity, fulfilling their righteous desires and living in alignment with God's idea for man. In essence, affirmations, when used correctly and mindfully, are a powerful tool for transforming one's circumstances and achieving desired outcomes. They help reprogram the subconscious mind, remove limiting beliefs, and open the way for abundance in all areas of life. Chapter 5: The Law of Karma and the Law of Forgiveness. The universe operates on the principle of boomerangs. Everything you give out, your thoughts, your actions, your words, will come back to you, sometimes in unexpected ways, but always with remarkable accuracy. This is the law of karma, a timeless spiritual law that operates with the certainty of a cosmic return. Simply put, what you sow, you shall reap. It's not just a moral teaching, but a fundamental law of the universe. I remember a friend of mine sharing a personal story that beautifully illustrated this. She confessed that her relationship with her aunt was the perfect example of how karma plays out in everyday life. She would often be irritable at home, especially during dinner. One evening, she snapped at her aunt, telling her, "No more talk, I wish to eat in peace." The next day, she was having lunch with an acquaintance she admired deeply, trying to make a good impression. She was speaking animatedly when, out of nowhere, the woman said to her, "No more talk, I wish to eat in peace." It was the same phrase, the same energy, reflected right back to her. She quickly realized her own irritability had boomeranged back to her. This is the speed of karma for those who are spiritually aware. The more you know, the more you're responsible for. If you understand the law but don't live by it, you'll face the consequences much faster. It's a spiritual principle. The more conscious you are, the more immediate your karmic feedback. And here lies the wisdom. The fear of the law, or understanding its power, is where true wisdom begins. When we talk about vengeance, it's important to understand the deeper meaning behind ancient wisdom. The Bible speaks of the Lord saying, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay." But this isn't a promise of divine wrath. It's the law of cause and effect at play. The law itself takes care of any imbalance, and this principle ensures that every action has its appropriate consequence. God, or the divine, sees humans as perfect, as reflections of divine imagination, capable of great power and dominion. This divine idea of man is already written in the divine mind, waiting for us to realize it. Man can only be what he believes himself to be, and can only achieve what he believes he can achieve. This is why your perception of reality is everything. As the ancient saying goes, nothing ever happens without an onlooker. You are both the observer and the creator of your life. Your internal reality, your thoughts and beliefs, shape your external circumstances. It's like a mirror reflecting what you have pictured in your mind. For example, when a mother constantly fears her child will fall ill, she unwittingly projects that fear into reality. Similarly, a woman might see success for her husband, and by doing so, she plants the seeds for his success. Jesus Christ once said, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Understanding these laws of the universe, and aligning yourself with the truth of your divine potential, will set you free. Truth is power, and when you tap into it, you'll find that your life begins to reflect the harmony and abundance you've always desired. True freedom from all negative conditions in life comes through knowledge of spiritual laws. When we understand and align ourselves with these laws, we unlock a deeper level of freedom and power. Obedience to these laws precedes authority, and the law itself will serve us when we choose to serve it. Think of electricity. It can be a powerful tool for good when handled properly, but when used ignorantly, it can become a deadly force. The same is true with the laws of the mind. For example, a woman with a strong personal will once fixated on owning a particular house that belonged to an acquaintance. She would often visualize herself living in that house, imagining it as her own. Over time, the man who owned the house passed away, and she moved in. Years later, after coming into the understanding of spiritual law, she asked me, "Do you think I had anything to do with that man's death?" I responded, "Yes, your desire was so intense that everything aligned to make it happen. But you also paid a karmic price. Your husband, whom you loved dearly, passed away shortly after, and the house became a burden, a white elephant you couldn't get rid of." The truth is, the original owner and her husband were not affected by her thoughts if they had been rooted in the truth, but they were both under the influence of karmic law. If this woman had approached her desire differently, saying, "Infinite intelligence, give me the right house, just as charming as this one, the house that is mine by divine right," the divine pattern would have guided her to the perfect outcome for all involved. This is the only safe way to manifest our desires. Desire is a powerful force, and when channeled correctly, it can bring amazing results. But when directed out of alignment with spiritual law, it can create chaos. In manifestation, the most important step is to ask for what is truly yours by divine right. If the woman had adopted the attitude, "If this house is mine, I cannot lose it, but if it is not, I trust that I will be given its equivalent," the outcome would have been harmonious. The man may have chosen to move out peacefully, or another house would have appeared, just as ideal for her. When we force things into manifestation through personal will, we only set ourselves up for failure. Anything that is not in alignment with divine order is ultimately not ours, and success achieved through force will always feel empty and fleeting. Man is often reminded, "Thy will be done, not mine," and the paradox is that when he truly surrenders his personal will, he invariably receives exactly what he desires. This is when infinite intelligence flows through him. Standing still and allowing divine guidance to work is a powerful yet often difficult practice. A perfect example of this principle unfolded when a woman came to me in great distress. Her daughter had made the decision to embark on a dangerous journey, and the mother, consumed with fear, was desperately trying to stop her. She had used every argument, warned of the dangers, and even forbid the trip, but the daughter only grew more determined and rebellious. I explained to the mother that by imposing her will, she was only adding to the resistance. "You cannot control your daughter's path with fear and force," I said. "And remember, man attracts what he fears." I advised her to let go of her personal control and trust the situation to divine wisdom. I suggested she affirm, "I place this situation in the hands of infinite love and wisdom. If this trip is part of the divine plan, I bless it and release all resistance. If it is not divinely guided, I give thanks that it is now dissolved and dissipated." A couple of days later, the daughter returned to the mother and said, "I've decided not to go on the trip." The situation dissolved peacefully, as the mother let go of her control and allowed divine wisdom to take over. This brings us to another example of the law of sowing and reaping, which manifested in a rather unusual way. A woman came to me, distraught after receiving a counterfeit $20 bill from the bank. She was certain the bank would never admit their mistake. I asked her to pause and reflect on the situation. After a moment, she realized, "I know why this happened. Recently, I sent a friend some stage money as a joke. I smiled, as it became clear to both of us that the law didn't understand jokes. The universe doesn't make distinctions between what we intend and what we send out into the world. It only knows the energy we project. So, the law of karma had brought her some stage money in return. I assured her that we could now use the law of forgiveness to neutralize the situation. By forgiving herself and understanding the root cause, she could clear the energetic imbalance and allow the situation to resolve harmoniously. Christianity is deeply rooted in the law of forgiveness. Christ, through His divine grace, redeemed us from the harsh consequences of the karmic law, offering us salvation and freedom from all inharmonious conditions. The Christ within each person is the Redeemer, leading us out of the cycles of negativity and into a life of divine grace and harmony. I reminded the woman, Infinite Spirit, we call upon the law of forgiveness, and we give thanks that she is under grace and not under law. She cannot lose what is hers by divine right. I encouraged her to go back to the bank and face the situation fearlessly. She did just that, and to her astonishment, they not only apologized but also gave her the correct bill, treating her with the utmost courtesy. This is the power of understanding spiritual law. By embracing forgiveness and divine grace, we can correct mistakes and free ourselves from the consequences of ignorance. One important thing to remember is that you cannot force the external world to reflect something you are not internally. If you desire abundance, you must first cultivate a mindset of wealth and prosperity. Take, for example, a woman who came to me seeking treatment for financial prosperity. However, she was disorganized, and her home reflected chaos. I told her, if you want to be prosperous, you must be orderly. Every wealthy person I know is orderly because order is heaven's first law. I also added with a smile, you will never become rich with a burnt match in the pincushion. She took my words to heart, and with humor and determination, she set about putting her life in order. She cleaned, rearranged, and straightened up her home, and soon, she received a financial blessing, a generous gift from a relative. By changing her mindset and the physical state of her environment, she unlocked the flow of prosperity into her life. She became an active participant in her own success by expecting and preparing for abundance, always remembering that God is her ultimate supply. Many people are unaware that gifts, money, and possessions are investments and not things to be hoarded. The law of abundance teaches us that there is that scattereth and yet increaseth, and there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. I once knew a man who had a deep desire for a fur-lined overcoat. He and his wife searched for the perfect one, but nothing met his standards until they found one that was valued at $1,000. The manager, eager to sell it at the end of the season, offered it to him for just $500. At the time, his total financial assets were only around $700, and the reasoning mind would have urged him to save what little he had. But his intuition told him otherwise. Without hesitation, he turned to his wife and said, "If I buy this coat, I will make a ton of money." He followed his inner guidance, trusting the flow of abundance, and soon after, his financial situation dramatically improved. The coat wasn't just a purchase, it was an investment in his belief in prosperity. The act of giving, spending, and sharing, when done with the right mindset, opens the door for more wealth to flow in. This is the law of abundance in action. What you put out into the world comes back to you in greater measure. His wife, though uncertain at first, agreed to the purchase. About a month later, he received a $10,000 commission. The coat, which seemed like a mere luxury at first, became a powerful symbol of his connection to success and prosperity. Without it, the commission may never have materialized. The coat was not just a purchase, it was an investment that paid him back with extraordinary dividends. It was proof that when we follow our instincts, even in matters of wealth and spending, we unlock a flow of abundance that might otherwise remain closed. If we ignore these inner promptings to spend or give, the same amount of money may leave us in less joyful or productive ways. I recall a woman telling me that, on Thanksgiving Day, she had informed her family that they could not afford the traditional dinner. Despite having the money, she decided to save it. However, a few days later, someone entered her room and took the exact amount of money that would have been spent on the dinner. The law of abundance always supports the one who spends wisely and without fear. Another example involved one of my students, who was out shopping with her little nephew. He wanted a toy, but she hesitated, thinking she couldn't afford it. In that moment, she realized that she was focusing on lack instead of seeing God as her constant supply. So, she bought the toy. On her way home, to her amazement, she found the exact amount of money she had just spent, lying in the street. This is a simple illustration that when we trust in the inexhaustible supply of the universe, everything we need is provided. But it's trust and faith that must come first. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It is faith that holds our vision steady, dissolving any negative or limiting images, and it is through steadfast faith that we reap the fruits of our labor in due season. Jesus Christ brought the revolutionary gospel, proclaiming a higher law than the law of karma, the law of grace and forgiveness. This law transcends the consequences of actions and offers man freedom from the cycle of cause and effect. Under this law of grace, we are liberated from the burdens of past mistakes, and we live under the divine flow of unconditional love. In this divine state, man reaps where he has not sown, and the gifts of God flow abundantly into his life. The kingdom of God is open to all, offering bliss and fulfillment to those who have transcended worldly thoughts and beliefs. The world's mindset is one of sin, sickness, and death, but Christ saw through these illusions. He declared that sickness, sorrow, and even death itself were unreal and would pass away. From a modern, scientific perspective, we now understand that death is simply the result of beliefs rooted in the subconscious mind. If we could reprogram this mind with the belief in eternal life and youth, our physical bodies would transform into something greater. As Walt Whitman once spoke of the body electric, Christianity, at its core, is built on the forgiveness of sins and the resurrection, an empty tomb and the promise of eternal life. This is the higher truth, the law of grace, which frees us from the limitations of the material world. Chapter 6, Casting the Burden / Impressing the Subconscious. We explore the powerful principle of releasing the burdens we carry in our minds. When a person understands the immense power of their own mind and its subconscious workings, the next natural step is to find the quickest and most effective way to impress the subconscious with positive beliefs. Simply knowing the truth intellectually isn't enough. One must align their subconscious mind with that truth in order to manifest real results. In my experience, the simplest method is the act of casting the burden. A metaphysician once described it as such: the only thing that gives anything weight in nature is the law of gravitation. If you were to lift a boulder high enough above the earth, it would have no weight at all. This concept illustrates what Jesus meant when he said, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." He had transcended the lower vibrations of the world and operated in a higher, more enlightened state, the fourth-dimensional realm, where perfection, completion, and joy exist. When Jesus invited the weary to come to him, he was offering a way to release burdens. "Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." This isn't just a religious or spiritual metaphor. It's a key to understanding the nature of the mind and the way we can free ourselves from limitations. In Psalm 55, we are also instructed to cast thy burden upon the Lord, further emphasizing that the solution to life's struggles is not found through personal effort alone but through surrendering our burdens to a higher power. In essence, man is meant to let go of his burdens, and those burdens are typically rooted in negative subconscious beliefs or adverse thoughts. It's nearly impossible to make lasting changes from the conscious, reasoning mind alone because it is limited by doubts, fears, and the weight of worldly concerns. This is where the science of casting the burden upon the superconscious mind, the Christ within, becomes essential. This higher state of awareness has the power to dissolve negative beliefs and transform them into light. For example, a woman in dire need of money was struggling with the belief of lack. She consciously chose to release that burden by casting it onto her Christ consciousness, saying, "I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to have plenty." The moment she made this shift, the belief in lack was removed, and she aligned with the infinite abundance of the universe. The result? A flood of supply came to her, as the superconscious mind of abundance took over. This process of casting the burden is a way to release the weight of worry, fear, and limitation, allowing the subconscious mind to align with the truth of abundance, success, and divine order. It is an effortless surrender that allows the universe to work in our favor, free of the burden of struggle. We are reminded that the Christ in you, the hope of glory, represents the divine presence within us, capable of transforming our lives. This powerful force is the key to casting away burdens and releasing what weighs us down. Let me share an example of how this works in practice. One of my students was in a bit of a bind. She had received a beautiful new piano, but her studio was cramped, and there was no place to put it until she could move out the old one. She wanted to keep the old piano, but had no idea where to send it. Feeling desperate, especially as the new piano was already on its way, she was at a loss. Then, she remembered the method of casting her burden on the Christ within. She repeated the affirmation, "I cast this burden on the Christ within, and I go free." Within minutes, the phone rang. A woman friend called, asking if she could rent her old piano. Within moments, the piano was moved out, just in time for the new one's arrival. Another student, burdened by resentment, used the same principle. She had been harboring resentment for years, which had trapped her in emotional turmoil. She repeated the affirmation, "I cast this burden of resentment on the Christ within, and I go free, to be loving, harmonious, and happy." The superconscious mind flooded her subconscious with love, and her life was completely transformed. For years, resentment had shackled her spirit, but through this process, she was freed. When casting a burden, repetition is key. Sometimes the process can take hours, but with determination and quiet focus, the burden lifts. Think of it like winding up a Victrola. It's a process of energizing ourselves with positive affirmations. Through this practice, clarity begins to return. In the throes of fear or doubt, our vision is clouded, and our minds are poisoned by negativity. However, by persistently affirming, "I cast this burden on the Christ within and go free," the fog begins to clear. The mental and emotional weight lifts, and soon, the manifestation of good, whether it's health, happiness, or abundance, appears. One of my students once asked about the darkness before the dawn, a concept I had touched upon in a previous chapter. This too is part of the process. When we cast our burdens, it's as if we are in a period of transition, where the light has not yet fully broken through, but it is on its way. The key is to continue with faith, even when the immediate effects aren't visible. Like the night before the dawn, it may seem dark, but we know the light is coming, and soon enough, the clarity and peace will emerge. Often, just before a significant breakthrough or demonstration, it seems as if everything falls apart. The mind becomes clouded with deep depression, and nothing seems to go right. In these moments, it's essential to recognize that these feelings are merely old doubts and fears rising from the subconscious, old emotional baggage that needs to be purged. This is the moment when one must rejoice, just as Jehoshaphat did, even when surrounded by seemingly impossible circumstances, such as lack or illness. In these times, despite appearances, gratitude is the key to unlocking the transformation. A student once asked, "How long must one remain in the dark?" I responded, "Until one can see in the dark." This is where casting the burden comes into play. It allows us to see clearly through the fog. To truly impress the subconscious, active faith is vital. Faith without action is fruitless. Throughout these chapters, I've emphasized this crucial point: faith must be demonstrated, not merely thought. Jesus Christ exemplified active faith when he commanded the multitude to sit down before he gave thanks for the loaves and fishes. He didn't wait for the miracle to happen, he took action first. Let me offer another example to demonstrate how essential this step is. A woman had been separated from her husband due to a misunderstanding. Despite her deep love for him, he refused all efforts at reconciliation and refused to communicate with her. However, upon learning about spiritual law, she refused to accept the appearance of separation. She affirmed, "There is no separation in divine mind, and therefore, I cannot be separated from the love and companionship that are mine by divine right." She demonstrated active faith by setting a place for him at the table every day, mentally and emotionally preparing for his return. She continued this practice without wavering, even when over a year had passed. Then, one day, he walked through the door. The subconscious mind can also be powerfully influenced through music. Music has a unique, almost fourth-dimensional quality that can release the soul from its limitations. It allows the mind to see the impossible as possible. I have a friend who uses her Victrola every day as part of her spiritual practice. The music puts her in perfect harmony, calming her mind, and freeing her imagination. Through this simple act, she has learned to unlock a flow of creativity and peace that enables her to manifest her desires with ease. Active faith, when coupled with consistent action, bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to be. It is the key to manifesting our desires and creating lasting change. Another example of impressing the subconscious through active faith comes from a woman who often danced while making her affirmations. The rhythm and harmony of music and motion carried her words with such powerful energy that they became almost unstoppable. She intuitively understood that action combined with her affirmations could propel her desires forward. The student must also remember never to despise the day of small things. Just as Columbus saw signs of land, birds and twigs, before actually landing in America, so too do we often see signs of our desires manifesting before the full demonstration takes place. It's easy to mistake these signs for the final manifestation itself and become disappointed, but these small things are actually the first indications that the bigger manifestation is on its way. For instance, a woman once affirmed for a new set of dishes. Soon after, a friend gave her an old, cracked plate. She was disheartened and came to me, saying, "I asked for a set of dishes, but all I got was a cracked plate." I replied, "The cracked plate is only a sign of land, just like Columbus saw birds and seaweed. It shows that your dishes are on the way. Don't see it as a setback, but as a symbol that your desire is close." Making believe is another powerful tool to impress the subconscious. Children naturally engage in make-believe, and Jesus said, "Except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter the kingdom of heaven." This childlike ability to imagine and dream without limits is the key to manifesting desires. I recall a woman who was very poor, but no one could make her feel poor. Despite earning only a small income, she would buy a beautiful hat or give a generous gift to someone, always doing so with a sense of joy and abundance. She would focus her thoughts on beauty, richness, and opulence, never allowing herself to be bogged down by her circumstances. Eventually, she married a wealthy man, and the opulence she had long imagined began to manifest in her life. The key to true peace and happiness lies in erasing all fear from the subconscious. Fear and negativity create blocks, preventing the manifestation of good. When we can release these limiting beliefs, we make space for the divine abundance that is already available to us. Fear must be replaced with faith, trust, and an unshakable belief in the power of the subconscious mind to bring about our desires. Only then can we experience the fullness of peace and happiness that is our divine right. Fear, as it is described, is a misdirected form of energy, and in order to transform it, it must be redirected into faith. As Jesus Christ pointed out, "Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? All things are possible to him that believeth." When asked how to rid oneself of fear, the answer is simple: face it directly. The lion, representing the fears we encounter in life, loses its power when we confront it. If you run away from your fear, it will chase you, but if you walk toward it fearlessly, it loses its grip on you. For instance, the fear of lack can be dissolved by practicing faith in the abundance of God. Many of my students who once struggled with poverty have broken free from it by showing fearlessness, particularly when it comes to spending money. When they spent money with the full understanding that God is their true supply, their subconscious minds were impressed with this truth. The result was a flow of abundance into their lives. A powerful affirmation for this is, "I now thank God the giver for God the gift." The root of fear lies in the subconscious, where limiting thoughts of separation and lack take root. For many, these ideas are so ingrained that they require something drastic, like a major life event or breakthrough, to dislodge them. This dynamite situation forces the subconscious to confront and release old fears. But once this process occurs, the individual is free, and the flow of good can begin. The key is to remain aware of whether your actions are motivated by fear or faith. Every action we take is either rooted in one or the other, and it's crucial to choose faith. If your fear is directed towards certain people or situations, face them head-on with love and acceptance. This will either help those people become valuable allies in your life, or they will fade away peacefully, as they no longer hold power over you. In situations involving health, if fear of disease or germs is present, it's important to stay calm and undisturbed. Fear can lower your vibrational frequency, making you more susceptible to illness. But if you maintain a high frequency of faith, you will remain immune. Germs and diseases are a product of the material world and the carnal mind. They cannot exist in the divine, superconscious mind. Ultimately, the realization that evil has no power is the key to freedom. The material world, governed by fear, is temporary and fading. When we fully understand this, we enter the realm of divine consciousness, the new heaven and new earth, where there is no sickness, no pain, and no fear. In this higher state of being, all suffering passes away, and we are free to experience the wondrous possibilities of life. Chapter 7, Love. Love, as described in this chapter, is not simply an emotion, but a powerful, cosmic force that is central to spiritual growth. Every individual on this planet is, in essence, taking an initiation in love. As Jesus Christ taught, "A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another." Love opens up access to the fourth-dimensional world, the world of the wondrous, where possibilities are endless and life is lived in harmony with the divine. True love is selfless. It is free from fear and does not demand anything in return. Love is an expression of the divine, a force that radiates outward to all, without seeking or expecting something in return. It gives purely for the sake of the other's joy. This type of love is a magnetic force that naturally attracts what it needs, without force or manipulation. However, most people have a limited understanding of love. They often approach relationships from a place of selfishness, fear, or insecurity. This causes them to lose the very thing they seek. Jealousy, in particular, is a destructive emotion that undermines love. When a person is consumed with jealousy, their mind imagines scenarios where their loved one is attracted to someone else, and these fears often manifest in reality if they are not neutralized. For example, a woman came to me heartbroken because the man she loved had left her for other women. She was consumed by jealousy and resentment, wishing for him to suffer as she had suffered. She asked how it was possible that he could leave her when she loved him so much. I responded by telling her that she was not loving him, she was hating him. Real love, I explained, is perfect and unselfish. If she wanted to receive love, she needed to give it first, unconditionally and without expecting anything in return. This love should be free from criticism or condemnation. I advised her to bless him, no matter where he was or what he had done. She responded, saying she would only bless him if she knew where he was. I explained that this conditional approach was not true love. True love does not set conditions, nor does it require the other person to act a certain way to be worthy of affection. Real love is without conditions or expectations, and it flows freely, unrestricted by the actions or decisions of others. The power of love is transformational. It has the ability to heal and create harmony in all areas of life. By practicing selfless love, we align ourselves with the divine and open ourselves to receiving the very things we desire. Love is the key that unlocks the higher realms of possibility and brings us closer to our true nature. The chapter continues to emphasize that when you send out real, unconditional love, it will return to you in some form, either from the person you are focusing on or someone who embodies the love you deserve. If the person you desire is not aligned with your divine path, then true love will manifest through someone else, but either way, love will return to you, for you are one with God, and thus, one with the love that belongs to you by divine right. In the case of the woman I had been advising, several months passed with little outward change, but she continued her work on herself, focusing on cultivating unconditional love. I reminded her that when she was no longer disturbed by the cruelty of the man she loved, it would cease to affect her, because she was, in part, attracting it through her own emotional reactions. I told her the story of a brotherhood in India, where the members never greeted each other with a simple, "good morning," but instead saluted the divinity within each person and every living thing. They saw only the divine presence in everyone, and as a result, they were never harmed, because they respected and acknowledged the divinity in all beings. I advised her to adopt the same mindset toward the man she loved. Rather than seeing him through the lens of his faults or actions, she should see the divine in him. She started to do this, and slowly but surely, her feelings of resentment faded. One day, she finally reached the point where she was able to say, "God bless the Cap, wherever he is," referring to the man as the Cap in a loving, neutral way. That moment marked a significant shift. She had reached a state of inner peace and love, no longer disturbed by the situation. At that point, either his love for her returned, or something even better manifested. A short time later, she sent me a letter with the wonderful news: "We are married." She explained that one day, all suffering had ceased, and she realized that she was no longer disturbed by his past actions. That evening, he had asked her to marry him, and within a week, they were married. The experience demonstrated that when you align yourself with real love and release any resentment, fear, or attachment to outcomes, you become a complete circle that draws in the love you are meant to experience. The saying, "No man is your enemy, no man is your friend, every man is your teacher," encapsulates the idea that everyone you meet serves as a mirror to your own growth, helping you learn to love unconditionally, and teaching you valuable lessons about yourself. Through this process, you ultimately attract the right people and circumstances into your life, manifesting your desires in perfect divine timing. The key message in this passage is that personal growth and freedom come from learning what each person has to teach us, rather than becoming attached to specific outcomes or relationships. Through this impersonal approach, one can avoid the suffering that comes from violating spiritual laws, as suffering is often the result of ignoring these deeper truths. While suffering is not necessary for spiritual development, it frequently acts as a wake-up call to rouse individuals from their soul sleep. The example of the woman whose husband left her because she expressed indifference to their marriage is an illustration of how the subconscious mind works. She had unknowingly created the situation through her lack of appreciation and disinterest in the relationship. Once she realized this, she could align herself with the situation and accept that both she and her husband were likely better off apart. This teaches that the law of karma, or the principle of cause and effect, is often triggered when we become complacent, critical, or unappreciative in relationships. Another example involves a man whose wife had him read by numerology, and when the report was not flattering, she dismissed him, saying he'd never amount to anything. This man was left feeling defeated, but the advice he received was to focus on his true, divine nature. Instead of identifying with the limiting views imposed by external influences like numerology, he was encouraged to remember his inherent worth and to align himself with success and prosperity, which were already planned for him by divine intelligence. The common thread here is that when people become selfish, indifferent, or critical, they often unknowingly push away the very good they desire, whether it is in relationships, career, or other areas of life. By learning to appreciate others, focusing on their own growth, and respecting divine law, they can align themselves with the flow of abundance, love, and success. The key is to cultivate an impersonal approach, learning from every person and situation without attachment to specific outcomes, and to always act in harmony with the higher laws of the universe. This section emphasizes the spiritual and practical relationship one must have with money in order to attract it and maintain prosperity. The key lesson is that true success and abundance come when one is in harmony with money, viewing it as a tool for good rather than an object of contempt or attachment. It begins by highlighting that no one can truly succeed in their work, business, or artistic endeavors unless they love what they do. For example, an artist's best work is created out of a genuine love for their art, rather than for financial gain. Similarly, people who despise money often find themselves in poverty because their contempt blocks the flow of wealth into their lives. This can be seen in the case of artists who, while excelling in their craft, may harbor negative beliefs about wealth, ultimately pushing it away. The section further clarifies that money itself is not evil, but rather a manifestation of God's abundance, intended to bring freedom and remove limitations. The key to attracting money is not to hoard it, but to keep it circulating and use it for good purposes. Hoarding, whether out of fear or greed, blocks the flow of wealth. For instance, the example of the woman in the film Greed illustrates the destructive power of hoarding. Despite winning a large sum of money, her fear of spending it led to misfortune and her eventual demise. The broader lesson is that money should be seen as a means to fulfill one's needs and desires while also benefiting others. It is a divine tool that, when used with the right attitude, can flow freely and abundantly into one's life. Hoarding or misusing money, however, especially out of fear or love for it above all else, can lead to loss, suffering, and misfortune. This aligns with the principle that love must be placed in its proper context. It should be directed toward growth, love for others, and the good of all, rather than attaching oneself to material wealth at the expense of higher spiritual values. This passage underscores the importance of love in both spiritual and material prosperity. It contrasts two paths: the path of love and selflessness, which brings abundance and fulfillment, and the path of selfishness and greed, which ultimately leads to separation from supply and destruction. The example of the wealthy woman who hoarded her possessions illustrates the consequences of violating the law of use. Though she accumulated material wealth, her attachment to her jewels and clothes, which she never used, led to her physical and mental decline. Her inability to part with her belongings caused her arms to become paralyzed, symbolizing how clinging to material things, out of fear or greed, can prevent the free flow of good in one's life. This is a manifestation of the law of love. When we hold on to things, whether physical objects or negative emotions like resentment, we block the flow of life and abundance. In contrast, true love involves the willingness to give and to use what one has for the good of others. The woman's hoarding represents a violation of this law, as she kept her wealth locked away in her closets, where it could neither serve her nor anyone else. By not using or sharing her wealth, she denied herself the full benefits of it. This is a spiritual lesson that extends beyond money. All forms of abundance, whether it be love, health, or resources, must circulate and be shared in order to maintain their vitality. The story of the student who struggled with resentment until she was able to release it completely shows the transformative power of love in overcoming negative emotions. Her persistence in cleaning her consciousness of resentment eventually led to her feeling radiant and free, demonstrating that emotional healing, like material healing, requires the release of what holds us back. Resentment, like hoarding, is a form of stagnation that keeps us from receiving the full flow of love and good. The key takeaway is that love is a dynamic, expansive force. It must be given freely and used for good in order to bring true abundance. Whether it is love for others, love for one's work, or love for life itself, this unselfish approach unlocks the flow of both material and spiritual prosperity. The law of love is the law of circulation. What you give out comes back to you multiplied. Conversely, hoarding, resentment, and selfishness disrupt this flow, leading to stagnation and suffering. This section emphasizes the power of love and kindness in transforming difficult situations and relationships. It highlights how love can change people's attitudes and behaviors, and how by choosing love over anger, resentment, or criticism, individuals can foster peace and harmony in their own lives and in their interactions with others. The story of the woman with a cold and critical employer offers a powerful example of how love can shift a seemingly difficult relationship. Instead of harboring negative feelings, the woman followed the advice to salute the divinity in her employer and send her love. The result was a profound transformation. The employer became kind and took her out in her car. This illustrates the concept that by seeing the best in others and sending out love, we can shift their behavior and even their attitude toward us. The reference to the sculptor and the marble is a reminder that we all have the potential for goodness and beauty within us, even if it is obscured by hardened or negative behavior. By focusing on the divine essence in others, we can help bring that potential into the light. The passage also touches on the importance of forgiveness and releasing past regrets. People who are filled with sorrow or remorse often hold on to these emotions, which can drain their vitality and affect their health. The advice given to a woman mourning the loss of her daughter to affirm that God was the woman's joy, love, and peace is an example of how to replace grief with spiritual truth. By affirming the truth of God's constant presence and love, the individual can transcend the sorrow and find peace. The concept of neutralizing past wrongs by doing a present kindness is powerful. If one cannot undo the harm they may have caused in the past, the key is to break the cycle of negative energy by performing acts of kindness now. The act of letting go of past mistakes, forgiving oneself and others, and choosing to focus on the present moment brings healing and helps clear the karmic imprints of the past. The woman who went about bragging about her troubles represents a mindset that clings to victimhood and sadness, holding on to grief instead of embracing joy. This kind of behavior, though common, perpetuates negativity and poisons not only the individual's atmosphere but also their physical well-being. The lesson here is to release the past, stop identifying with pain, and actively choose joy, peace, and love in the present. Ultimately, this section shows how love, kindness, and forgiveness can transform both external circumstances and internal states. By choosing love, individuals can heal themselves and others, change relationships, and invite peace and prosperity into their lives. This part emphasizes the destructive power of fear, particularly in the context of motherhood, and the importance of shifting from fear to faith in order to bring about positive results in both personal and others' lives. The idea that mother fear can lead to disease or accidents is explored, suggesting that fear creates vivid mental pictures that materialize into reality if not countered with faith and truth. The example of the woman protecting her brother with affirmations of truth is a demonstration of how shifting from fear to divine faith and affirming protection and safety can prevent harm. By consciously choosing to release fear and trust in the divine protection of loved ones, one can create an aura of safety and healing. The reference to the Bible verse, "Perfect love casteth out fear," aligns with this theme, reminding us that love, grounded in faith, dispels the destructive power of fear. Fear is seen as a force that interferes with spiritual and physical harmony, while perfect love, which is rooted in divine trust and faith, is the antidote to this disruption. Chapter 8, Intuition or Guidance. The passage also introduces the importance of intuition or divine guidance. By acknowledging God and following intuitive leads, one can access unseen forces that direct them toward their goals, whether they be health, prosperity, or success. The practice of speaking words of truth, affirmations or prayers, sets in motion the energies that shape one's life. The key to success and healing is aligning one's thoughts and words with divine truth, allowing intuition to guide actions and decisions. In this chapter, the essential message is the power of spoken words in shaping reality. The individual who knows the power of their word can influence their life, remold their circumstances, and access the supply needed for their demands. The words chosen are tools for creating and manifesting divine order and abundance, and the intuition serves as a guide for knowing how to use them effectively. Thus, understanding the importance of words and cultivating the ability to discern divine guidance is a central theme for creating transformation in one's life. This section highlights the spiritual principle that action must be coupled with faith, emphasizing that man must make the first move in order to manifest desires. The process of demonstration, whether for financial prosperity or other goals, begins with speaking a clear word of intention, but it is essential to wait for divine guidance before acting. The idea is that after setting the intention, one should not force actions but instead wait for intuitive or guided steps to unfold. The example of the woman seeking a large sum of money illustrates how manifestation works. After speaking the word, she waited for a clear lead, which came in the form of a specific idea to give a gift. This act of giving, guided by intuition, ultimately unlocked her prosperity. The message is clear: giving opens the channel for receiving, and tithing, or giving a portion of one's income, is a practical, spiritually charged way to ensure a flow of abundance. The text also emphasizes that giving must be done with love and cheerfulness, not out of obligation or fear. A positive and generous mindset towards money, paying bills cheerfully, sending money out fearlessly, ensures that money will come back multiplied. This attitude of abundance empowers an individual to become the master of their financial situation, for wealth responds to the consciousness and energy one projects. The section further touches on the necessity of both vision and action. When one envisions wealth or success but is afraid to act on it, they limit their own supply. The story of the woman asking for a position demonstrates that one should not settle for any position, but instead ask for the right one, what is specifically aligned with their divine purpose and already planned in the mind of God. This is the position that will bring true fulfillment and satisfaction. The message in this chapter is that true manifestation occurs through a combination of intention, faith, action, and an openness to divine guidance. Giving, acting from love, and trusting the process unlocks the flow of abundance in all areas of life. In this section, the text emphasizes the importance of trusting and acting on intuitive guidance, which is portrayed as a spiritual faculty that can lead to unexpected but valuable outcomes. The principle is that intuition does not always explain itself but simply points the way. The woman seeking guidance for a position exemplifies how intuitive leads can manifest in surprising ways. When she woke up smelling the familiar fragrance of Palm Beach, she took it as a sign and accepted the position, which turned out to be a great success. Another example is the author's personal experience of being led to a bakery without a clear reason. Despite initial resistance, the trip led to a chance encounter with a woman in need of help. This illustrates how intuition often directs one to an unexpected yet significant outcome, reinforcing that guidance may not always make immediate sense but can be crucial in connecting one with the right people or opportunities. The text also shares a story from a class where the students were asked to receive a definite lead. One woman, who initially came for health treatment, had an intuitive hunch to move her furniture and find an apartment. Although seemingly unrelated to her health concerns, the decision proved beneficial. This demonstrates the interconnectedness of all aspects of life. Spiritual guidance may not always come in the form we expect, but it can have a profound impact on multiple areas of our lives. The message in this section is to trust the divine guidance that arises within, even when it seems unrelated or mysterious. Intuition can lead us to the right decisions, opportunities, and outcomes when we listen and follow the prompts without overthinking or doubting. The key is to act on those intuitive leads with faith and openness. In this part of the text, the focus is on the connection between mental and physical health, particularly how negative thoughts and emotions can manifest as physical ailments. The author explains that certain mental patterns, such as hoarding, hatred, fear, and condemnation, create congestion, both in the body and in a person's life circumstances. For example, the woman who had her furniture in storage was not only physically ill but also had a mental block that led to this illness. The author suggests that healing requires a change in thought and behavior, as physical health and spiritual well-being are deeply interconnected. The concept of the law of use is also explored. The law states that when a person hoards or holds on to things, whether material items, emotions, or beliefs, it creates blockages in the flow of energy, whether in the body or in life. To promote healing, one must let go of these blocks, be they physical possessions or negative feelings like resentment or judgment. The author ties this to biblical teachings, specifically referencing Jesus' advice to the healed leper to sin no more, meaning that healing is not just about addressing the physical issue but also changing one's thinking and behavior to avoid future harm. A key point is made about the law of attraction in relation to judgment and condemnation. The example of the woman whose husband left her for another woman illustrates how holding on to anger and resentment, particularly through condemnation, can bring about similar negative experiences. The advice given was to bless the other woman and release the situation, but the friend did not heed the advice. A few years later, she attracted a similar betrayal. This reinforces the principle that what one condemns in others is often mirrored in their own life experiences. Thus, the message emphasizes the importance of forgiveness, releasing negativity, and aligning one's thoughts with healing and positivity in order to achieve lasting transformation. The idea is that healing requires not just physical remedies but also a transformation of the mind and soul. In this section, the author highlights several important themes related to spiritual growth and the power of the mind in shaping life experiences. One central idea is the impact of criticism and condemnation on the individual. The text explains that when a person criticizes or condemns another, they invite negativity into their own life. The metaphor of picking up a live wire emphasizes how such actions can have a boomerang effect, bringing unforeseen consequences back onto the person who is critical. The author suggests that, in this case, the woman who criticized another ended up becoming deeply interested in the married man herself, demonstrating the way that condemning or judging others can ultimately create similar situations in one's own life. Another key lesson from this passage is the importance of decisiveness. The author advocates using affirmations like, "I am always under direct inspiration, I make right decisions quickly," to impress the subconscious mind and develop the habit of making decisions with confidence and clarity. Indecision is described as a stumbling block that can slow progress, but repeating such affirmations helps to strengthen the inner certainty needed for right action. The author also cautions against relying on the psychic plane for guidance. While some people turn to psychic readings or horoscopes to make decisions, the text stresses that these sources can be unreliable because they are based on mortal or limited thinking, which is often inconsistent and filled with contradictions. The psychic realm, according to the author, is a reflection of human minds and can yield both good and bad messages, depending on the mental and emotional state of the individual. Therefore, the text urges the student to turn to higher, more spiritual sources for guidance, such as intuition and divine inspiration. The importance of aligning one's will with God's will is also emphasized. The text describes how an individual can create lasting change by focusing on the divine vision and using their will to stay aligned with it, regardless of external circumstances or temporary challenges. This is exemplified by the story of the prodigal son, who, despite his mistakes, decides to arise and go to his Father, symbolizing a return to spiritual clarity and purpose. Finally, the author links external challenges, like stumbling or falling, to internal mental states. If a person experiences difficulties in their environment, it is often a reflection of inner disharmony. For example, the woman who mentally criticized someone was later disturbed by a similar situation in her own life. The point is that mental states directly affect the physical world, and by cultivating peace, forgiveness, and alignment with divine principles, a person can overcome external struggles and create harmony in their life. In essence, this passage encourages spiritual discipline, the cultivation of positive thought patterns, and the alignment of one's will with divine will in order to create harmony both internally and externally. In this passage, the author emphasizes the transformative power of forgiveness, the law of supply, and the importance of maintaining a positive and trusting mindset, even in challenging situations. The story of the woman and the $2,000 loan illustrates how holding on to resentment and anger can block the flow of abundance, while forgiveness and faith in divine order open the door to unexpected blessings. The woman, initially upset by the loss of the money she loaned to a relative, learned that forgiving the relative and acknowledging that there is no loss in divine mind allowed her to shift her perception and tap into the universal supply. By affirming that the money was hers by divine right and denying the idea of loss, she was able to open herself to the abundance that would come her way, even though it appeared in a surprising form. Her situation with the landlord further demonstrated this principle. Despite facing an apparent injustice with the lease and increased rent, she chose to respond with gratitude and trust, saying, "As the rent has been raised, it means that I'll be that much richer, for God is my supply." This affirmation shows that she recognized God as her true source of wealth, not external circumstances. As a result, her faith and calm response led to an unexpected benefit when the mistake in the new leases allowed her to stay in the apartment longer, and eventually, the landlord offered $2,000 for tenants to vacate. The woman and others received this offer, and she was thus able to collect the very amount she had been seeking. The message in this story is clear. When we let go of resentment and trust in divine supply, we create space for unexpected solutions and blessings to appear. The path to abundance isn't always straightforward, but it often involves a shift in perspective, trusting in the flow of the universe, and responding with love and forgiveness rather than resistance. The lesson is that faith, combined with right attitudes and actions, leads to divine right outcomes, even when the situation initially appears unfavorable. This passage continues the theme of divine abundance and the transformative power of shifting one's mindset. The woman's story exemplifies how what initially seemed like an injustice or setback, her landlord's decision to raise the rent and eventually offer money for her to vacate, became the opening for her to receive exactly what she had prayed for, the $2,000. Her decision to trust in the principle that there is no loss in divine mind, and to stand firm in her faith opened the way for her to receive her supply. The $1,500 offer was merely a stepping stone, a lead that signaled the larger sum was coming. By consulting her friends, who encouraged her to hold out for the full $2,000, she was able to manifest exactly what she had affirmed was hers by divine right. The key message here is that divine supply is not limited by external circumstances or appearances. The passage emphasizes that apparent setbacks and challenges, such as financial hardships or injustices, are often opportunities for spiritual growth and demonstrations of God's abundant provision. By standing firm in spiritual truths, maintaining faith, and taking inspired action, one can transcend these challenges and experience the flow of divine blessings. The reference to restoring the years the locusts have eaten is particularly significant, as it symbolizes the idea that spiritual growth and divine provision can restore what was seemingly lost or wasted, the years of doubt, fear, resentment, or regret. These are the locusts that deplete one's resources, both materially and spiritually. By overcoming these negative thoughts and embracing a mindset of faith and abundance, one can reclaim all that was lost and more. Ultimately, this passage is a call to trust in the laws of abundance, to let go of the limitations of mortal thinking, and to stand firmly in the knowledge that God's provision is infinite and ever-present. By proving this in one's life, as the woman did, a person becomes a living witness to the truth of God's love and supply. Chapter 9, titled Perfect Self-Expression or the Divine Design, presents the idea that each person has a unique purpose in life, a perfect role they are meant to fulfill, something no one else can do. This role is a divine idea already held in the mind of God, awaiting recognition and manifestation in the individual's life. The chapter emphasizes that perfect self-expression is a key to happiness and fulfillment, and it is intrinsically tied to health, wealth, love, and the realization of one's highest potential. The key concept is that to align with this divine plan, one must first recognize it through the power of imagination. Just as an artist envisions their creation before bringing it to life, so too must a person see their divine design clearly. It may not always be immediately apparent, and there may be hidden talents or potential yet to be realized. The call to action is to ask the divine for guidance. Infinite Spirit, open the way for the divine design of my life to manifest. Let the genius within me now be released. The chapter also touches upon how life may feel tumultuous when one is not aligned with their true purpose. However, once the individual aligns with their divine design, even if it takes some readjustment, wonderful changes unfold. This process will never be burdensome but rather deeply fulfilling, as it will be in harmony with the individual's true nature. One important theme is the idea that everything needed to fulfill one's divine purpose is already available. The resources, including money, support, and opportunities, are provided by the divine to manifest perfect self-expression. The example of the man with only 7 cents who gave 1 cent as an act of faith demonstrates this concept. His faith, paired with the spoken word, led to the release of prosperity and success in his life. This illustrates the principle that faith in divine supply and the power of words can unlock the flow of resources required for success. This chapter encourages individuals to trust in the divine plan for their lives, have faith that all their needs will be met as they align with their true purpose, and to express themselves freely and joyously in their destined role. Through faith and the power of the spoken word, the individual can manifest their perfect self-expression and the abundance that accompanies it. The story continues with a focus on the idea of perfect self-expression, highlighting that each individual has a unique role or destiny to fulfill in life. The message emphasizes that achieving this self-expression doesn't necessarily mean pursuing a specific career, but rather living in alignment with one's true purpose, whether that is as a wife, mother, homemaker, or any other role. The importance of making a clear demand for the divine design to manifest is central in this section. When someone asks for their perfect self-expression, they will receive inspiration or flashes of insight that reveal their purpose. The key is to hold on to this vision without wavering, trusting that the right opportunities will appear. The idea that the thing man seeks is seeking him underscores the notion that one's purpose and success are already in motion, awaiting recognition and action. Parents are encouraged not to impose their own career ambitions on their children but to trust in the divine plan for each child's life. The idea of a prenatal treatment is introduced as a way to set the foundation for a child's divine design early on, using the affirmation, "Let the God in this child have perfect expression." The chapter emphasizes that God's will, rather than man's, should be the guiding force in life, aligning with the principle found throughout religious scriptures. God's pattern and plan for the individual life is perfect, while mortal thinking, the mind influenced by fear, doubt, and ego, can often lead to confusion and discontent. The analogy of the battles in the Bible is introduced to illustrate how each person's struggle is a spiritual one against the mortal, fear-based thoughts. Man must overcome the Goliath of fear and self-doubt with faith, symbolized by the small but powerful white stone. This symbolizes how overcoming fear and self-consciousness is necessary for realizing one's true potential. Fear, including stage fright, is identified as one of the major obstacles to self-expression. However, the chapter reassures that with the help of the spoken word or treatment, fear can be overcome. When this happens, the individual feels that they are simply a vessel through which divine intelligence flows, inspiring them to act confidently and fearlessly. This perspective helps shift the focus from self-doubt to a recognition of divine support in all endeavors. The story of the young boy asking for help with his exam serves as an example of how the divine can provide support for any aspect of life, even academic challenges. The idea is that when one aligns with the divine design, success in all areas of life is ensured, and fear no longer stands in the way of perfect self-expression. In this passage, the importance of humility and openness to divine guidance is emphasized. The young boy's success in passing his arithmetic exam is attributed to his reliance on infinite intelligence, while his failure in history is a result of his overconfidence in his own knowledge. This demonstrates how trusting only in one's personality and not in the divine guidance within can lead to setbacks. The story of the student who traveled abroad further illustrates the idea that relying on divine support is essential, especially in unfamiliar or challenging situations. When she acknowledged the presence of God in all her actions, everything went smoothly. However, once she felt confident in her own abilities and ceased to rely on divine help, things began to go wrong, reinforcing the idea that constant awareness of divine presence is necessary for success and harmony. The reference to Robert Fulton's moment of inspiration when watching boiling water underscores the notion that seemingly ordinary events can lead to extraordinary breakthroughs. The message here is that when a person remains open and attuned to the divine, even the smallest moments can spark significant ideas and achievements. Another key lesson in this passage is the idea that resistance or attachment to a specific outcome can block manifestation. A student who forces the way a demonstration should come, instead of allowing infinite intelligence to work through him in the best way, can prevent the manifestation from occurring. The phrase, "my way, not your way," serves as a reminder that divine intelligence operates beyond human expectations or limitations. Just as power needs a non-resistant conductor to flow, so too must a person remain receptive to divine guidance, without insisting on a rigid path or outcome. The central theme is that perfect self-expression and success come from an alignment with divine intelligence, which requires trust, humility, and openness to unexpected ways in which things may unfold. Resistance to the divine plan or trying to control every aspect of the manifestation process can halt progress, whereas letting go and allowing the divine to guide ensures smooth, harmonious outcomes. This passage delves into the power of poise, non-resistance, and trust in divine guidance, emphasizing that these qualities enable divine power to flow through a person, bringing clarity, right action, and success. The repeated biblical instruction to stand still highlights the idea that when faced with challenges or battles, a person should remain calm and trust that divine intervention will take care of the situation. This is illustrated in the examples of the woman receiving the $2,000 through the landlord and the woman winning the man's love after ceasing to resist or force the situation. By letting go of anxiety and staying poised, she allowed the universe to work in her favor. Poise, as described here, is the power of being undisturbed and non-resistant, which opens the way for divine will to manifest through us. It is in this state that one can make clear, quick decisions and never miss a trick. The passage also explores the destructive nature of anger, fear, and worry, which blur judgment and cause harm, both mentally and physically. Anger is described as a poison that leads to poor decisions and eventual failure. In metaphysical teachings, sin is redefined. Anything that is not rooted in faith is considered a sin, including fear and worry. These negative emotions distort reality, creating mental pictures that attract what one fears. To overcome them, the student must rid the subconscious mind of these fears. Fear can only be vanquished by facing it, as exemplified in the biblical story of Jehoshaphat, where the army sang praises, and the enemy destroyed itself without them needing to fight. The story of the woman who feared delivering a message to a friend reinforces this idea. Her fear initially caused her distress, but by deciding to confront her fear, she found that the situation resolved itself without her having to act at all. The key is that her willingness to face the fear allowed the situation to dissolve naturally. Lastly, the passage encourages the student to declare that their demonstration is complete because, in divine mind, all things are already finished and perfect. The belief in incompletion is a hindrance to the manifestation of desires, and by affirming completion, the student allows their goals to materialize effortlessly. In essence, the message is that fear, anger, and resistance block the flow of divine intelligence, while poise, trust, and faith allow the divine plan to unfold smoothly. By staying calm, making decisions rooted in faith, and letting go of control, the student can manifest their desires and overcome obstacles effortlessly. This passage touches on key principles for manifesting one's desires and living a life in harmony with divine law. It highlights the importance of completion, the power of belief, and the flow of giving and receiving. First, the idea that, whatever he demands are perfect ideas registered in divine mind emphasizes that the desires one holds in their mind are part of a divine plan, and they are already perfect in the eyes of the universe. When a person believes in this truth and gives thanks for receiving what they desire, it creates the conditions for these desires to manifest in the physical world. The concept of active preparation suggests that while divine grace is responsible for bringing about the manifestation, human action must also play a part. By preparing for the desired outcome, a person aligns themselves with the invisible energies that are already at work. The story of the student who needed a financial demonstration illustrates this principle. When she acknowledged a habit of leaving things unfinished, she took action to complete something she had started, symbolically signaling to the subconscious that she was ready to complete her financial demonstration as well. This small but significant act led to a financial windfall when her husband received double payment that month. The idea is that completion in one area of life can trigger completion and abundance in other areas. The passage also emphasizes the importance of asking for clear guidance from the divine. When someone has multiple talents or paths to choose from, they should trust that the divine will show them the correct path. By making the statement, "I am fully equipped for the divine plan of my life," the individual opens themselves to receiving guidance and opportunities, and by being fearless in seizing these opportunities, they step into their divine self-expression. Additionally, there is a focus on the flow of giving and receiving. The woman who had given away large sums of money but later refused to accept a gift of several $1,000s learned the hard way that refusing to receive can block the flow of abundance. When one gives freely, they must also be willing to receive with grace, recognizing that both actions are necessary to maintain the flow of prosperity. The idea that man should receive gracefully the bread returning to him upon the water speaks to the natural law that what is given out must eventually return to the giver. In summary, the passage teaches that divine ideas are already perfect and waiting to manifest, and that active preparation, clear demands, and openness to receiving are key components in bringing those desires into reality. It also emphasizes the need for balance between giving and receiving, understanding that both are vital for the flow of abundance. By completing tasks, asking for guidance, and being open to the divine plan, one can manifest perfect work, home, and health. In life, the law of giving and receiving creates a perfect balance. We are taught to give freely, without expectations of return, but there is a powerful truth that few understand. By refusing to accept what is rightfully given to us, we are breaking this sacred law. Everything that comes into our lives, whether it's love, abundance, or opportunities, is a gift from the divine. We are merely channels through which these gifts flow. A thought of lack or pity for the giver will only hinder the flow, because it denies the abundance that is available to all. Take, for instance, when someone gave me a single cent. I didn't think, poor man, he cannot afford to give this. Instead, I saw him as rich and prosperous, with abundance flowing effortlessly into his life. It was this vision that attracted prosperity back into his life. If you have trouble receiving, even something as small as a postage stamp, you must become a better receiver. Open yourself up to receiving, for the Lord loves a cheerful giver, but He also loves a cheerful receiver. People often ask why some are born with wealth and health, while others face poverty and illness. The truth is, there is no such thing as chance. Every effect has a cause. This life is not the only one we live, it's part of a larger journey governed by the law of reincarnation. We live many lives, going through cycles of birth and death, until we finally understand the truth that sets us free. Our desires, our karma, and our unresolved issues draw us back into this earthly experience. Those who are born into wealth and health carry subconscious memories from past lives filled with abundance, while those born into hardship may have subconscious memories of poverty and illness. Man's life is shaped by the beliefs stored deep in the subconscious. Birth and death, as we understand them, are man-made concepts. The truth is, the real man, the spiritual man, has never been born and will never die. He is eternal. As He was in the beginning, so He is now and ever shall be. Through this understanding, man is set free from the chains of karma, sin, and death. He begins to manifest his divine design, the life he was meant to live. This is the key to freedom. When he fulfills his destiny, living out his true purpose, he will hear the words, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things, now I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord, eternal life." So, embrace the divine design of your life, and know that by fulfilling your true purpose, you will experience the freedom that comes with it. Chapter 10, Denial and Affirmations. You shall also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto you. This powerful principle reveals that all the good we desire is already an accomplished reality in the divine mind. It only awaits our recognition and the spoken word to manifest. But here's the key, we must be careful with what we decree, for too often, through careless words, we invite failure or misfortune into our lives. Our words carry power, and it is of utmost importance to word our demands carefully and in alignment with divine will. If you seek a home, a friend, a job, or any other good thing, make your demand clear but in accordance with divine perfection. For example, say, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for my right home, my right friend, my right position. I give thanks that it now manifests under grace in a perfect way." Notice the significance of the phrase, under grace in a perfect way. This is essential because it ensures that the manifestation occurs not only in the way we envision but in a way that serves our highest good. There was an instance where a woman demanded $1,000 for her needs. But when her daughter was injured, the money came, but through an insurance indemnity rather than the direct supply she anticipated. The money came, but it didn't come in the perfect way. The demand should have been worded differently. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that the $1,000 which is mine by divine right is now released and reaches me under grace in a perfect way. This change ensures that the flow of abundance aligns with divine order and that all circumstances are ideal. As you grow in your financial consciousness, you must stretch your expectations. You should begin to demand larger sums of money, ones that are yours by divine right, to manifest in perfect ways. It's impossible to receive more than you believe is possible for you. So, if you limit your vision, you also limit the flow of abundance into your life. A striking example of this comes from a French legend. A poor man walking along a road encountered a traveler who handed him a gold nugget and said, "My friend, take this gold nugget, sell it, and you will be rich for the rest of your days." The man was overjoyed and took the nugget home. From that moment, his circumstances began to change. He found work and prospered, so much so that he never needed to sell the nugget. Years passed, and the man became incredibly wealthy, all because he accepted the gift, and in doing so, unlocked a larger potential for abundance in his life. This story reveals that prosperity is not just about physical wealth, it's a reflection of consciousness. If we expect less, we receive less. If we expand our consciousness and expect more, we open the door to greater manifestations. Therefore, we must be bold in our demands, wise in our wording, and trust that the universe will bring us exactly what we need, in the most perfect way. One day, a man met a poor traveler on the road and stopped to offer him a gold nugget, saying, "My good friend, take this nugget, sell it, and it will make you rich for life." The poor man accepted the gift, had it valued, and discovered that it was merely brass. In contrast, the man who had given the nugget became rich by believing it was gold. This story reveals a powerful truth. Wealth is not just about what you have, but about the consciousness you carry within you. It is your awareness of abundance, of opulence, that brings riches into your life. In life, the path to prosperity begins with believing that you already have what you desire. Before ye call, I shall answer, the divine promise reminds us. Constantly affirming what we want establishes the belief in our subconscious mind, and once belief is firmly rooted, manifestation is inevitable. The key is to affirm, not plead, and to give thanks repeatedly as though you have already received. When we rejoice in the unseen blessings, like the desert rejoicing and blooming before the rain has come, we create the opening for those blessings to flow. The Lord's Prayer, too, is filled with commands and demands. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. It ends with praise, for thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. It's a powerful blueprint for manifesting what we need: command, demand, praise, and thanksgiving. The work of the student, then, is to cultivate the belief that with God, all things are possible. While this is easy to say in theory, it becomes challenging when faced with a real problem. For instance, there was a woman who needed to manifest a large sum of money within a specific time frame. She understood that she needed a tangible realization, because realization is manifestation. One day, while walking through a department store, she was drawn to a beautiful pink enamel paper cutter. Despite thinking she didn't need it, a thought came to her: I don't have a paper cutter good enough for opening letters containing large checks. She bought the paper cutter, despite the reasoning mind calling it an extravagance. The paper cutter, however, wasn't just an object, it was a symbol of her belief in abundance. By taking action on her intuition, she opened herself up to receiving. It may have seemed like an extravagant purchase, but it was an affirmation, a declaration that she was ready for greater wealth. When we align our actions with our faith and desires, we create the perfect conditions for our manifestations to unfold. As the woman held the pink paper cutter in her hand, she had a sudden flash of insight. She pictured herself opening an envelope that contained a large check. This vivid moment was not just a daydream, it was a powerful realization of her desires manifesting in physical form. In just a few weeks, the money she had been hoping for arrived. The paper cutter had become her bridge of active faith, a symbolic act that connected her desire to its eventual fulfillment. Many stories highlight the incredible power of the subconscious mind when it is directed with unwavering faith. One such story is about a man staying in a farmhouse. One night, he found himself suffocating due to a lack of air. In the darkness, he stumbled to the window, only to find it nailed shut. In a panic, he smashed a nearby pane of glass with his fist, allowing a rush of fresh air to flood in, giving him a restful night's sleep. The next morning, he discovered that the window had remained sealed the entire time. He had unknowingly provided himself with the oxygen he needed simply by believing he could. His thought created the reality. When a student sets out to manifest their desires, it is crucial that they never waver or doubt. As the scripture advises, let not that man who wavers think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A powerful student once shared this empowering belief: when I ask the Father for something, I put my foot down and say, Father, I'll take nothing less than what I've asked for, but more. This unwavering faith is key. Man should never compromise, for his desires are already answered in the divine mind. Sometimes, the most difficult part of manifesting is standing firm after you have made your demand. The temptation to give up, to turn back, or to settle for less can be overwhelming. But even in waiting, we serve. Often, the greatest demonstrations occur at the 11th hour, when we stop overthinking and allow infinite intelligence to work freely. When man lets go of his reasoning and surrenders to divine guidance, the perfect solutions begin to unfold. However, desires that are born from impatience or frustration tend to manifest in ways that mirror those feelings: delayed, chaotic, or even forcefully fulfilled. A woman once came to me, frustrated about repeatedly losing or breaking her glasses. Upon examining her thoughts, we discovered that she often expressed, with irritation, "I wish I could get rid of my glasses." Her impatient desire was reflected back to her in the form of constant mishaps. The universe responds to our inner state, whether that's peaceful and certain or hurried and agitated, so it's important to align our desires with calm faith and clarity. What the woman should have demanded was perfect eyesight, but instead, she subconsciously focused on the impatient desire to be rid of her glasses. Her thoughts were wrapped in frustration, causing her glasses to repeatedly break or disappear. This illustrates how two attitudes of mind, either lack of appreciation or fear of loss, can lead to continuous problems. In the case of the woman, her lack of appreciation for her glasses manifested as a cycle of misfortune. Similarly, when we fear losing something, our subconscious creates a picture of loss, which inevitably becomes our reality. The key to resolving such issues lies in letting go of the problem entirely, releasing the burden and trusting in the divine. When a student can surrender to this process, manifestation happens instantly. Take, for instance, the story of a woman caught in a fierce storm. Her umbrella was blown inside out just before she was about to visit people she had never met. She didn't want to make her first impression carrying a broken umbrella, but she couldn't throw it away because it didn't belong to her. In a moment of frustration, she exclaimed, "Oh, God, you take charge of this umbrella, I don't know what to do." Almost immediately, a voice behind her said, "Lady, do you want your umbrella mended?" There, standing in the storm, was an umbrella repairman. The man fixed her umbrella while she went in to meet her guests, and when she returned, her umbrella was as good as new. This moment serves as a reminder: when we surrender a situation to God, the solution always appears, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. Just as there's always an umbrella mender on the path, there are solutions waiting when we trust the divine to take charge. Furthermore, when using affirmations and denials, one should always follow a denial with an affirmation to reinforce the desired outcome. I remember one late-night phone call, asking me to treat a man who was gravely ill. I responded with the statement, "I deny this appearance of disease. It is unreal, and cannot register in his consciousness. This man is a perfect idea in divine mind, pure substance expressing perfection." The next morning, he was feeling much better, and by the following day, he was out attending to his business. This experience demonstrated the power of words and belief, as divine mind knows no time or space. The words sent with faith reach their destination instantly and will never return void. I have also treated patients across the world, from Europe to other distant places, and witnessed the immediate results of this divine power. The truth is, wherever there is faith and trust in the divine, healing and manifestation know no boundaries. I am frequently asked to explain the difference between visualizing and visioning. Visualizing is a mental process, guided by the conscious or reasoning mind. It involves picturing outcomes and using logic to create a desired reality. On the other hand, visioning is a spiritual process, governed by intuition and the superconscious mind. It transcends the limitations of our thoughts and taps into a deeper, divine source of inspiration. To truly harness the power of visioning, a student must train their mind to receive these flashes of divine insight and follow the clear guidance they bring. When one can sincerely say, "I desire only that which God desires for me," the false desires that cloud the mind begin to fade, and a new, divine blueprint for life is revealed. This divine plan, set forth by the God within, goes beyond the confines of human logic. It encompasses the full spectrum of life, providing health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Too often, people unknowingly limit themselves by visualizing a small, modest goal, like building a bungalow, when in reality they are meant to build a palace, a life of grandeur and unlimited potential. If a student tries to force a demonstration using only the logical, reasoning mind, they create a blockage, preventing the flow of divine manifestation. Instead, they should act in harmony with intuition and follow the guidance that emerges through inspiration or definite leads. As the saying goes, rest in the Lord and wait patiently. Trust also in Him, and He will bring it to pass. I've witnessed the law at work in remarkable ways. For instance, one of my students urgently needed $100 to meet an important debt by the next day. I spoke the word, affirming that Spirit is never late and that the supply is already at hand. Later that evening, she called me in awe, sharing a miraculous story. A thought came to her, guiding her to visit her safe deposit box at the bank and check the papers stored there. To her astonishment, at the very bottom of the box, she found a crisp new $100 bill, one she knew she hadn't placed there. She had gone through the box numerous times before, yet this money had materialized before her eyes, almost like the loaves and fishes multiplied by Jesus Christ. This is a glimpse of what is possible when we trust and align ourselves with the divine flow. There will come a time when our words will become flesh, manifesting instantly, as we reach the level of mastery where spirit and matter are perfectly in sync. The fields are ripe for harvest, and they will manifest instantly, just as the miracles performed by Jesus Christ. There is immense power in the name of Jesus Christ, representing truth made manifest. He declared, "Whatsoever ye ask the Father, in my name, He will give it to you." The power of this name elevates the individual into a higher dimension, freeing them from astral and psychic influences. It connects them to the unconditioned, absolute nature of God, just as He is unconditioned and absolute. I've witnessed profound healings through the invocation of the words, "In the name of Jesus Christ." Christ was both a person and a principle, and the Christ within each of us is our Redeemer and salvation. This inner Christ is our fourth-dimensional self, the man made in God's image and likeness. It is the self that has never failed, never known sickness, sorrow, or death. It is the resurrection and the life within every person. "No man cometh to the Father except by the Son" means that God, the universal, expresses through the individual, becoming the Christ within them. The Holy Ghost represents God in action, manifesting daily in each person as the Trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. To truly manifest this divine power, man must become a master thinker. Thinking is an art, a creative process, and the master thinker is careful to paint only the divine designs upon the canvas of his mind. With unwavering confidence, the master thinker uses strokes of clarity and decision, knowing that these divine pictures will manifest flawlessly in his life. All power is given to man through right thinking to bring his heaven to earth. This is the essence of the game of life. The key rules are simple: fearless faith, non-resistance, and love. I wish for each reader to be freed from the burdens that have held them back throughout the ages. Know the truth, and it will set you free, free to fulfill your destiny and manifest the divine design of your life, including health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. When it comes to denials and affirmations, remember. For prosperity, God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace and in perfect ways. For right conditions, every plan not in alignment with my divine purpose is dissolved, and the divine idea now manifests. For right conditions, only that which is true of God is true of me, for I and the Father are one. For faith, as I am one with God, I am one with my good, for God is both the giver and the gift. I cannot separate the giver from the gift. For right conditions, divine love now dissolves and dissipates every wrong condition in my mind, body, and affairs. Divine love is the most powerful force in the universe, capable of dissolving everything that is not in alignment with its essence. For health, divine love fills my consciousness with vitality, and every cell in my body is bathed in light, radiating perfect health. For eyesight, my eyes are God's eyes. I see with the eyes of spirit, clearly perceiving the open way ahead, with no obstacles on my path. I see clearly the perfect plan unfolding before me. For guidance, I am divinely sensitive to my intuitive leads and give instant obedience to thy will. My heart and mind are open to receive divine direction. For hearing, my ears are God's ears. I hear with the ears of spirit, attuned to the divine voice within. I am non-resistant and willing to be led, hearing only glad tidings of great joy. For right work, I have a perfect work, unfolding in a perfect way. I give my best service for perfect pay, knowing that my labor is aligned with divine purpose. For freedom from all bondage, I cast this burden upon the Christ within, and I go free, liberated from all that holds me back, walking in the full freedom of my divine inheritance.